Today's episode is brought to you by 200.
It's high noon.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to High Noon Podcast, the competitive Overwatch podcast. I am your host, The Blevins. With me for, we'll just say, roughly the 200th time is my co-host, Deathblow. What's up, buddy?
Not too much, man. What a day today has been. Strange, weird, touching, all these things as we got submissions from the community and the fans to celebrate the 200th episode, and we'll be reading all those at the end of the show today. But man, I've just been like, I was so pumped going into this season already, just because of everything going on, the way the league was shaping up, how exciting it looks, and it like just tripled down like on the energy today, reading all the feedback and the love. So big shout outs and thank you to everybody that listens and watches and consumes our content in any capacity, and also to those that did submit your comments and feedback. Like I said, we'll read through those later. Know that going in, the back half of the episode's very introspective and about the show and the community and fan service. So we'll be running through the normal content a little bit faster today, and then getting to that. So please do be aware of that. No, it's a special episode. That's why. But man, just super pumped to just get into Overwatch League again, man. I don't know. I'm very at a loss for words today. Bad mood for podcasting.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're gonna have a whole lot of dead air today.
Yeah, I've literally, but I've got like this box of tissues here. I'm ready to go for when things get sentimental. So.
Yeah, it was it's crazy, but we'll save all of that for the end of the show. And Death, I guess it's fortunate for you that we're going to be going through the games this week pretty quickly, because we're at the Houston homestand this week. So
hey, listen, it's not just fortunate for me. We told you guys when we switched to this format that was going to really revolve around the homestands and who the home teams were and focus on those teams and those fan bases, that it was going to be about very specifically about those teams and what those fan bases wanted and what they wanted to hear. And I'll speak for all Houston fans when I say we're good.
Yeah,
you can just breeze through this one. So it fits the theme. We're here for the fans still.
Yes, and I'm going to try to keep us on track for time. So if I ramble on, just
nobody believes you.
Chad, if I ramble on, just yell at me. But we do need to get through some housekeeping beforehand. Of course, Foul Play coming back. They're going to be breaking down some week 3, getting some great fantasy Overwatch League stats and whatnot. So make sure you're checking them out, as well as Blackwatch Report, keeping you up to date on the Tier 2 scene for Overwatch. Definitely going to want to check them out and see who these hot new prospects are coming up, because there's always, if you think that there's not enough drama in the Overwatch League, just peel back one layer into Tier 2 and there is so very much more, and Blackwatch has got you up to date and in the action for all of that. Make sure to check Blackwatch Report and Foul Play out, both on their own podcast feeds. YouTube videos, Death, I know one of the reasons that we're breezing through today is because you've got some footage to grab for a video.
I've been grabbing footage for 3 days for this video. I want to, obviously the talk of the town right now is your 4-0 Philadelphia Fusion. We'll be getting into that a little bit here, but I really wanted to try to get in there and figure out what makes this team tick, what's made them so successful, and why they're on the top of the standings right now, and really use that replay viewer tool I've talked so much about, and really dive in and figure out who the key is, who the MVP on that team is through the first 4 games. I do think I've got it figured out. I don't think most people would agree with me, but I think that also makes for a very good video. So hopefully you guys really like that. Keep an eye out for that. I'm hoping it drops on Wednesday again, but being a different format, not being a one map VOD review form, makes it a little different. I don't know exactly how it's going to go. I'm going to try and flex a little bit of my editing skills that I don't have yet because I haven't learned how to use the tools I need to use in order to make the stuff I want to make. But I'm every episode, I hope you guys see a little bit more production value, a little bit more quality added into it. And this one shouldn't be any different. It'll be a very different tone and feel than the last one. I'm really excited to get into it. And yeah, as soon as the broadcast is done, I will be in the replay viewer again going through this weekend. So
yeah, I'm very excited for that. Loved the first one. I know I personally did, and the community also seemed to like it a bit. I did notice there was a what was it? Oh, it was in Houston versus NY. Someone, I think it was actually Hotba, was spamming GG at Mecco when they won on Ilios. Which I just noticed that like during the broadcast. They didn't bring it up, but I remember specifically hearing it when I think like Hotba, like he killed Mecco or something. I'm like, that is great.
We'll have to check it out. Lots of hidden spice, I think, that nobody even knows about what's going on.
Yeah, and is also extremely hard to go. It's more like sifting and prospecting for gold than anything, because it's you're gonna go through a lot of dirt and a lot of nothing to get to that. But that is gonna be great. We're gonna skip our what did we do this week because we're gonna kind of condense that all into the back half of the episode, and let's move on here and talk about a little bit of news. Really, the only piece of news we have here is that the homestands, the Shanghai and Guangzhou and Hangzhou homestands that were moved to South Korea have now also been canceled, and we're not sure about the plans for them.
Also, the week 5 one that wasn't canceled in Seoul is also canceled as well. Nothing to say. We've talked. I think we've covered it. Really, there's no good answer. There's no good outcome. All that's left is to get the best possible. You just get the games played and keep everybody safe. And it seems like that's their main focus: the safety first, and then getting the games played, which is very correct. So we're just going to have to buckle up and go for the ride and see what happens here. So I believe one of our questions that was submitted is about that, though. So we'll have a little more conversation about that later on.
Just I mean, continuing the very tragic, not just because of the Overwatch League, but just the whole crisis and tragedy of it is very sad. But we will hunker down as a community and forge on, of course. But let's move on here as well, and let's talk about it's tournament talk. All right, we've got some matches this week. Start off with Philly getting the what from the onset seems like an upset, but looking now might actually not have been. I mean, I was personally upset, but Philly beating New York Excelsior 3-1. Boston Uprising winning the Battle of the Bottoms 3-2 over the Houston Outlaws. Paris Eternal defeating the hometown squad Washington Justice 3-1. New York Excelsior getting the as predicted 5-0 versus Houston Outlaws. Philadelphia Fusion winning surprisingly a nail biter versus Toronto Defiant 3-2, and then another nail biter last match of the week. London Spitfire winning it out on the very last map of Control versus the Washington Justice 3-2.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I thought it was an epic weekend.
It was a fantastic.
Overwatch gameplay was phenomenal. It starts off with the upset.
Yep.
Just the scrappiest, sloppiest, knockdown, drag out brawl. These are first to 3 matches, guys. Houston versus Boston went to map 7.
Yeah.
If you want to see a roller coaster ride, watch it. If
Yeah.
you want the absolute top tier best Overwatch you can ever see, that's not the one. Go somewhere else. But if you want to see something that's ridiculously entertaining, super super fun, that's the one of the weekend for me. Obviously, I'm a fan. It didn't go the way I wanted. The literal devil beat my team. I don't care. That match was a roller coaster. It was phenomenal to watch. Rookie debuts all over the place. Sick, emaciated outlaws all over the stage. It was what more can you ask for? Honestly, from a game of from teams that you wouldn't normally be excited to watch, right? Like when the bottom of the league gives you games like that, that's pretty great. So I've just hats off to both of those teams. I mean, it was a mess. There's no doubt about it. But in it the whole way, for every reason to give up, both of those teams at times could have just easily rolled over and died. Neither of them did. And, it was a phenomenal match. And then I called it, but still an upset, Paris over Washington. Like you said, then there was the one that was maybe not not the most exciting. But hey, well, it's fine. There's allowed to be a couple of those too.
Right.
And then like you said, the 3-2s, man, the endings of those, the end of Sunday, the second half, those 2 games, it was just an absolute trip. Get out the replay viewer, go watch the VODs on YouTube. You can't have missed those 2 for sure.
And I talked about this. I think we briefly mentioned it in week 1. Maybe it was I think in week 1 about Brandon Sideshow casting, and then I mentioned it specifically to you over the weekend. I think Brandon Sideshow might be my favorite casting duo right now. Like, they are fantastic. I'm not gonna lie, and I think a lot of the community felt the same way. Little not worried, but like, okay, I don't know what we're gonna get out of these 2.
I was curious.
I was very curious. They put out a very goofy, playful, like that's what they are, right? They are that persona, like in their podcasts, in all the content that they do, and then on the desk and stuff, the skits and whatnot, very much like wacky, zany, out of control. And I'm like, okay, I'm wondering how this is going to translate to the caster booth. And they put on essentially a completely different face, but still have the emotion behind it. And Bren is a fantastic play-by-play. Sideshow, obviously super, super knowledgeable, comes in with the color commentary and really adds in. And they just, I mean, you can tell, obviously they both have had casting experience before, but man, they're a treat to listen to. They've got it. I'm not bringing this up for any particular reason other than to give them kudos. They were great. The reason I thought about that was because, man, that last match, London versus Washington, on the last map, Stratus was it Stratus? No, Roar gets gets that shatter, like the second to last fight, gets a 5-man shatter. They take the point, and it's like, that was chaos. That was and they encapsulated it perfectly. I was pumped. I didn't care about the result of this match, but I was pumped for that. And Bren encapsulated that fantastically. Of course, London came back and won the point, but that's not that doesn't matter. It was still a fantastic match, fantastic weekend of Overwatch, for sure. Besides that, a couple of things stuck out to me, Death. We'll talk more about Houston when we get to let's break it down, so I'll skip over them, but NYXL is kind of in a weird spot right now. May is in the meta, very much so, very prominent. I think something that we called happening literally years and years and years ago, with May actually using the wall to break teams in half and focus off one player or 2 players and split the team, has really, really come into focus. in this meta. I'm personally surprised it's taken this long for it to happen. Given how just unique that ability is and how much we see it in other, like in StarCraft, that's a huge thing for Protoss specifically. But the thing is that Who Are You is really not that good at May. Like
He's definitely not.
he's very average.
And
at May.
I've seen a lot of people really perplexed by the choice to play him. And listen, this to me goes back to the week 1 preview, not the season preview, but the week 1 when we really were talking about New York. What's their roster going to look like? Who are they going to play? I asked for Who Are You to be their starting support player. Listen, Libero is the best May on the team. There's no doubt about that to me. We're one more week left before Rollock kicks off.
Right.
Next week on Sunday, they're going to be doing the drawing for who's going to be banned from week 6. And the May meta conversation problem is going to be profoundly different. She might not get banned right away, but maybe some of the things that support her and make her better do get banned.
Right.
But I mean, you're absolutely right. It took a long time for this to happen. It really, I think, happened when Clockwork Vendetta brought it into popularity. In the contender scene, they were playing the super weird, like Widow was your flex support. You were playing Torbjorn all the time.
Yeah.
You were playing May, and you had Roadhog with Orisa, so you'd set up these hooks, and then the May became about, okay, we hooked them, how can we keep them here?
Right.
And so the May came into play there, and then teams are like, oh, well, Maywall counters that because now I can drop it after you hook my guy, and then you can't pull him to you, and then I think that really got teams used to and practiced at playing around the Maywall, and the game's always revolved around cooldowns. That's always been the case. It's very that very much so drives fights when you can be aggressive and push. A lot of teams look at poke compositions and they think they're standing there waiting for a kill to happen. And a lot of times what they're waiting for is the Diva's defense matrix to wear out, the Reinhardt shield to break, that sort of a thing, or a cooldown to go that gives them the opportunity for their composition to exploit the other one, right? Whatever you're countered by, you used it, you missed, we go.
Find the
that sort of a situation. And Libero kind of was one of the early adopters of May, so you'd really think he would excel and just be the perfect choice for that. And I'm going to be honest, he might be. What New York is trying to do, though, is be better than they've been in the past.
Right.
I asked for Who Are You, not because I thought he would be the best in this situation, but because I thought he had a higher upside potential than Libero did. He had an ability to take over and dominate games in a way that a jack of all trades and a master of none in Libero really isn't able to do. Now, you want that piece in your arsenal for when hero pools come up and you've got Who Are You and he's a stellar Genji or whatever. And maybe that's when you start to see them, okay, we'll swap, right? This is a 1 week problem. And this guy's got stage experience. He's got his role on the team set up, ready to go. I think that's when you might start to see it more. I wouldn't. Are they playing this weekend or are they off?
No, they're playing.
2 games. They are. Okay. I wouldn't expect to see that this weekend when they go against Florida, but at the end of the day, it's certainly possible. I just think they're very future minded right now. And when you're a team like New York that, okay, they're stumbling and they lost to Philly, but like, what does a stumbling New York's records place in the standings fall to? 5th? Like, okay, like we're still in the playoffs.
We take those.
We're right. We're not even in play-ins in that scenario. That's so if they're maybe looking long-term with this decision, that's the logic to me that makes the most sense behind this decision. But you can't dismiss the fact that there's just a new coach there, and he's just wrong and making a poor choice. But I don't think so. He's been with this team a while. He absolutely knows what he has in Libero, and I just think it's a long-term play here. It's tough as a New York fan. You want to win the match in front of you, but how frustrating was it when you were the regular season champions and it didn't matter because you just got trounced in the playoffs?
Very frustrating.
So you want your cake and you want to eat it too, but at the same time, if you want that problem to go away, you can't do nothing. And just by rolling the same roster out, like losing Meko, I get it, Hotbuzz looked good in week 1, but later on, you have to make changes, and then that's
Right.
going to result in, one step back to take two step forwards. That's the mentality, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the way the team's approaching it. And honestly, I think it should be accepted by New York fans.
Yeah.
Whether general league fans sit there, scratch their head, what happened in New York, blaming who, fine, you guys aren't invested. But if you're buying into the team, and if you're a fan of them, then it doesn't have to be a bad thing, right? Even though it
Yeah.
might add a loss or two, you're still going to beat most of your opponents. You're still very much so favorites to be in playoff contention. And who are you going to get better?
Right.
So give them the time.
Yeah. I'm actually ironically very excited by this play. Um, I don't want to see the Band-Aid like, okay, well, let's just barely win. I mean, and what was a little bit almost scary to me against Houston was they played off meta. They made the bet of, okay, we can play Fair Mercy. We know Blase is very blase at at McCree. He's not going to be able to counter this. We can just dumpster them. They're not going to be able to counter it. And that worked. That's not going to cut it against a Carpe, against a Prophet. Again, it's not going to cut it against these top teams that actually have very good hit scan. It's not going to cut it against Linkser. Let's be honest. When he's not sick, or he is, I don't know. It's not going to cut it against the top tier DPS, which is kind of scary to me that they're. It's scary, but it's also not scary in a way. I'm actually, I guess I'm not 100% sure how to feel about that, because I like that they're willing to go off meta, because if they take away the ego of, oh, well, we can just go head to head against anyone and beat them, and instead are like, okay, well, we can go back to our comfort picks and be able to play something a little off meta that makes them a little deadlier, right? Unless they get predictable. So overall, obviously, I don't want to see a loss in the. I don't want to see a 1 in the loss column for New York this early. Philly looks good, but I would rather get this loss out early. Get Who Are You up to speed. I like a lot of what you're saying, Death. I think it is a good idea to put the investment into this potential, franchise type of player. He can be the SBB of season 5, season 6, or whatever. After SBB's retired. They need a leader. They need a player that they're putting their resources, their scrim time, their effort into. And Who Are You seems to be that player right now. So I like it.
Nobody's going to care how bad his May was in the first 3 weeks of the season when they're holding a trophy at the end of the year. So buy in.
Exactly. 100%. We mentioned Philly looking very good. They are sort of the talk of the town right now. And I know you're going to go deeper into this in your video, so we won't spoil too much, but they don't look untouchable, Death. They got taken the distance by Toronto, who, for what it's worth, looks very good right now. Completely different team from last year. Toronto, honestly, almost pulled the reverse sweep. They looked really soft in map number 1. Kind of came back. They put Surefour in. Surefour did not play map number 1, which I think was kind of a head scratcher a little bit. It made a little bit of sense because Logix did absolutely pop off. But
they had 3 kills. He had all of them. So you can't blame Logix.
He absolutely popped off in the previous week, but Surefour's the guy, man. Like, Surefour is the guy. He's the calming presence. You can see it in the on the stage. He's the one that's talking. He's the one that's got the body language. He's the one that's calling over to the guy 2 seats down and getting everyone together. He's the captain of the team in a lot of ways, and also he's just a really good player. They look completely different with him in.
Yeah, anybody can communicate. I do think we make a bit of it drives me nuts, to be perfectly honest with you, when we talk about, and it usually surrounds Houston, and I don't understand why it always seems to surround them like it makes sense. But like, Jake can't come out, he's too important to their calling structure, or now they were saying that about Blase, and to me it always reeks of people trying to like create the reason why it's true.
Right.
So I don't put too much into that personally. I think he absolutely is a strong teammate, a very good
Yeah.
teammate, a leader. All those things are true. I think you can do that from the bench as a DPS
Sure.
player, though, right? You're allowed to jump on comms in between maps and things like that. You can do some of that anyways. So I get the thought there. I don't put too much credence in it. To me, it's a matter of like he is a dynamic, game-changing playmaker
Yeah.
that the other team is worried about 100% of the time. So when a team comes into a match and they go, okay, the way we're going to beat Toronto is we're hunting Kareev, we're finding him, we're killing him, and we're taking him out of this game. It's harder to do that when you have the best possible player in the position to disrupt it, right?
Yep.
So you've got, Sombra has been a hero. He's played a lot in their divey compositions. If you're trying to get at the back line and all of a sudden your diva's hacked, it becomes a lot harder because now Kareev's sleep dart hits the Winston and all those things. So just his sheer gameplay ability, his game making ability, to me, just all of it kind of gameplay related is why he just has to stay in. It's a little bit the season 1 Houston not playing Linkser conversation. It's on a smaller scale. There's a better option than what Houston was bringing in to replace him at the time. But at the end of the day, I think you need to recognize when your team plays better with some players in, whatever that reasoning is, and you need to lean in. It's a little bit the SBB versus Nene conversation for me. It's not a unique problem to Toronto, and it's not much of a problem either because it's early in the year. They're figuring out what can we get away with, what can we do. What's important is that they learn that lesson and that we maybe don't see it again. Or if we do see it again, it's like a different heroes, different situations, and it works. That is a big factor in whether or not it's right to do things like that. So yeah, Toronto looks really, really impressive. They were one of the teams we talked about with massive range of outcomes going into this year. I continue to be floored by how good I think Fefe has done in the coaching staff for Toronto. I'm almost certainly not pronouncing it right. Maybe I am. Who knows? But it's 50-50. Yeah, I think they've done a phenomenal job preparing the team. The team plays what suits them, so they lean on dive where they can. They play that's to suit Beast, who's a better Winston than Reinhardt, I think. Not that I think his Reinhardt's been a major problem or anything like that, but they're playing to their strengths, and they're doing it before they're forced to by hero pools. I think that puts them in a great position going forward, and I think they've done a lot to really convince the league as a whole that this wasn't a solely marketing effort to sign all these players and bring them in, and that there is some method to the madness here. And yeah, them putting the scare into Philly like that, with them being as well respected and literally top of the standings that they are right now, is a great sign. For Toronto, at least. For Philly, it tells me, okay, you're human. You're probably not contesting San Francisco for best in the league yet. I know people want to say that. It's not true. But taking down New York, I said it last week. I'll believe it when I see it. All right, I see it. I believe it. You've leveled up in my mind. Like it was a big moment, but just everybody take a breath. Atlanta hasn't played yet. Seoul hasn't played yet. Shanghai hasn't played yet. Half the league hasn't hit the stage. Vancouver and San Francisco have one game each. There's a lot of Overwatch left to be played. There's a lot of contenders for top 5 spots, top 3 spots, still yet to touch the stage. So it's a long road, but I think both Philly and Toronto are squarely in that conversation for teams that are in line for 1 or 2 tier ups here, just by the performances they've put out.
I was thinking about it while you were talking, and I think I understand the logic start. You play him game 1 or map 1 against a team who you're unfavored against, which I think most people would say Philly probably was favored over Toronto. You put in Logix. He's think of him like the big boss pine, the wild card. Does he pop off? We've seen him pop off on stage. We saw it happen 2 weeks ago. Does he have the hot hand? Yes. If so, let's wild card it right now. Let's beat Philly. Let's keep feeding Logix. Let's keep the hot hand in. If they lose, sub him out, put in your go-to Surefour, and hope your your straight up game works against him. Now, it's kind of like throwing a game one, but it also, if the thing is that there's a world where Logix completely pops off and dominates Philly. They start off 1-0, they go into it, he keeps it going and they, you flip one of those games there, and all of a sudden, like, it looks like a genius play to start Logix, right? Like, I think he seems like the type of player, and even like going back to contenders, like he is very hot and cold, which is depending on the strategy. Now, if Toronto does that against a Boston or against a a Houston, a lower level team. I didn't actually mean to throw the dig at Houston there. They were just on the screen.
They're there. If they're at 20 in the standings, I can't be mad about it. You're good.
Don't do that, because you're straight up should win the match. But I think I don't know if that's what they're doing. If that's what they're going for, but that's how I, as a Toronto fan, am conceptualizing it.
On first and goal in the one in the Super Bowl, when you just hand the ball off to Marshawn Lynch, you don't throw the pass. Do you hear me, Pete Carroll? You don't throw the pass. You just hand the ball off to Marshawn Lynch 4 times, forehead.
Right.
But that's not the situation, right?
Right.
They were,
if you're going to win, if they're
they were very behind.
Right. If they're at the 99-yard line,
right?
You
throw the Hail Mary. Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, my only counter to that is, agilities can sit too, but it's a conversation for another time. It is what it is. It was one map. They almost got there anyways. Right. And so
I think what it boils down to is, Surefour is probably more equipped to come out, cold or colder than Logix is. That's my guess.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. But to me, it almost seems to me like they're trying to pen in Surefour's hero pool, right? Like,
right.
Libero's a jack of all trades, master of none. Surefour can play anything very, very well.
Yeah.
But he is a master at some of those heroes anyways.
Yeah.
So let him play the other things very, very well when you want to use somebody else. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's a difficult question to answer. We've talked a lot about teams potentially misusing their DPS rosters because they want to have all their bases covered, but then you put too many bullets in the gun, and then you remember you're playing Russian roulette, and it's bad. It's a bad time.
Right.
So it's early season. I think we got to take all these questionable, I don't understand why they're playing this guy roster decisions with a grain of salt, and say sometimes they're just trying to learn and figure out what they have and what they're doing, and stop trying to see the reason why it's the best bet for this matchup, and look at why is it the best bet for this season. It might be the better question to ask a lot of them.
I like it. All right, enough about last week. Definitely a great watch. If there's any if you missed any of the matches, definitely check out Philly, Toronto, check out Houston, Boston, check out Washington, London. All fantastic matches. I mean, even New York, Philly actually wasn't a great match, and neither was Paris, Washington. All the other ones
they weren't great, but they were telling to the standings, and they were placement games, so there's a lot of value in seeing them, even if they weren't super hotly contested.
Yep, I agree with that. All right, let's move on here to next week, and
let's break it down.
Got some matches in Houston.
Can you edit the song drop to be like the league is coming to the Outlaws? Can we do no? Okay, we'll just skip that.
The league
it's the only way we're gonna get to use that. I think. But yeah, so Houston is the homestand team this weekend. They are in a questionable state at the moment, to say the least. You guys know what they did to the team, the roster. They added all these pieces. They added Blase and Hydration as ridiculously flexible DPS players to go with Dante and Linkser. They got Meko, they got Jexe, and they got Repel. So there's a lot of new pieces in this roster. And so far, I know I just got on a tirade about like, look at what they're trying to do and look at all this stuff. I'm really struggling to see it in this instance for Houston here, as much as it pains me to say. I really like flex support is not a position where I think you can reasonably swap people out.
Right.
and expect them to perform. Okay.
Mhm.
It's so much Anna right now and Baptiste, and these are very high aim heroes and very mechanically based heroes. And I'm to the point now, I don't care if it's Raucous or if it's Repel. I've seen good play from both of them
Yep.
at times this year. Individual play. I know it really triggered some people in Discord this weekend that I saw some positives from individuals on teams that lost. I'm sorry, but it's
How
kind
dare
of
you
part
think
of
that they
part
did
of the
good?
gig.
They
Right.
lost.
It's part of the gig when you're trying to analyze teams. To look at the bad teams, what's working, what's not working. Sometimes things are working, even if they're losing.
Right.
But flex support has been iffy at best. It's very frustrating to me that they put in Raucous. He goes on a 2-map win streak, and then they take him out and put Repel in for map 7 when you just need to keep the momentum you have and go. And the coaching staff did an interview, a sideshow. You can check that out on his YouTube channel. It was with Dream, and they talked about that, and he pointedly said, they're playing the maps they're scrimming on right now. That's what we're using them on. So to me, I think Harsha and the coaching staff is making up their mind. I do think that is a little bit what's going on here. But at the end of the day, you got them both some good play time. One of them was clearly outperforming the other one, whether individually or team synergy wise. I don't care. Leave him in, please. The other half of this coin here is, where is Linkser? We've got his tweet a week ago that says, I'm not sick, I'm just bad, but my teammates are PogChamp, support them, please, or whatever he said, something along those lines. And then I didn't even see it myself, but like somebody went on and said, I think he went on, or somebody did. I went on a vast stream and basically said, like, yeah, Linkser hasn't slept in 4 days, or I haven't slept in 4 days. I've been so sick, I can't even stand up. Like, he's just a walking corpse, apparently. So there's conflicting reports about whether or not he's sick or healthy, or why he's not playing. And to me, I always thought that I'm not sick, I'm bad thing was like, I got benched, and I'm not going to go out there and bash my coach in public and say, hey, I think this was a terrible decision, but I've got to do what Coach Harsha says. That's a bad look. I think it's much better, much more responsible as a teammate, as a player that's interacting with coach as a professional, to take the blame on yourself. I've got to get better. I'm not playing good enough to start for this team right now. Throw your support behind your teammates. Like, to me, it was kind of like what he just said, I'm sick, right? Like, it was just those words, or I'm not sick, I should say. And maybe he was just a little under the weather at the time, and then it got worse. I don't know. That's probably what happened to me, because it just doesn't make sense that he's out there. You can all day till you're blue in the face defend Blaze's role in comms and communication for this team, and then you can open up Stats Lab and you can look at what the man's doing, and he's last in the league on everything. You don't even need stats if you want. You can use the eyeball test. When he flashbangs somebody, he fans the hammer, Blevins. Who does that? It's not Reinhardt.
Me.
You do. Right, exactly.
And I'm bad, for the reference.
The man
real bad.
doesn't play this hero. He plainly doesn't play this hero. He's a competitor. He's out there trying to do what he can. And when you're not mechanically gifted at the hero, and you're not mechanically used to the flicks that you need to, there's that. Go do it. You do what's a high percentage and gives you the best chance to get the kill. Fan the Hammer does that. Okay. But when you're an aim god like Carpe, like Linkser, like whether you believe in him or not, I don't care. But when you're one of those guys, hit scan specialist, you hit the flashbang, you put your cursor on the head, and you click them. I can't do it either. So it's whatever. The guy doesn't play these heroes, and for what it's worth, the heroes he's been known to play, when he's gotten the chance to do them, popped off. His Doomfist, find it. It's rare. It's in there though. He looks phenomenal on it. So I'm not down on Blase. As a result of this, I'm down on his McCree, and I want him the hell off the stage in the McCree meta, so that my boy Linkser can step up. Where's his jersey? There somewhere. That's what I want to see as a fan. If he's sick, if he can't sleep at night, if he's if you literally have to roll him out onto the stage and put him in front of him, okay, that's not good for anybody to do that. You can't do it. But why can't you put out one tweet? Hey guys, Linkser is really, really sick. We're gonna start these DP there's
the injury reports.
Yeah, there's injury reports in sports. Nobody's like,
we did not
oh my god, he sprained his ankle. Well, I'm gonna set this jersey on fire. It's health. Like, there's nothing he can do about it. So it's very maddening to me that there's not that being communicated, and it feeds this questioning into the coaching staff. And to be honest, it goes beyond the coaching staff to me, because if you have two coaches that seem to make the same problem, refusing to play your best player or the best player for the situation, this just happens to be literally the exact same player both times, when the mistakes repeat themselves, and when the general managers sitting next to the players at the post-game press conferences and doing the lion's share of the talking, that tells me the general manager is very involved in the coaching of this team and the way the Overwatch operations of it. So they could dispel this by being a little more transparent about whatever illnesses are actually occurring. Put out daily scrim reports. Hey, inactive illness. That's all you have to say on the scrim report. Like, here's our scrim lineup today or something. I don't know. Do something. You don't have to
but
do.
Deathblow, that's going to provide a competitive advantage for their opponents that week.
So does Dream going out there talking about how they wrote everybody at all times anyway, because pool's coming up with players like Blase and Hydration who can play anything. He said they've spent scrim hours with Hydration on main tank. They've spent scrim, they're doing a lot of things in scrims, and they're talking about that. So talk about why Linkser's not out there. Listen, if you really think Blase, because right now all I have to go on is that you just must think Blase is the best, right? Like, if it continues to happen, I've never seen a flu last 3 months, right? So if Linkser never hits the stage, and Blase is always that, right? Like, that's more, I don't even know, you could disease than illness is kind of the way I would think about that. But yeah, generally speaking, you're not going to be out for this long if you've got the flu, or you're running up on the maximum length of time where that's an acceptable excuse. And let's say week 1 they thought Blase had it, and then he just didn't. And week 2 they didn't have a choice because he was sick. I don't know. But the longer I sit here with no other explanation forthcoming and contradictory news about the player's health and things like that, you just get closer and closer to this was a choice. And if this is a choice, it's a terrible look, right? Because it's painfully obvious to everybody. Like I said, eye test, stats, in no way is the man living up to what the rest of the league, every other team in the league, has been able to put out on the roll, and you haven't made a switch. They haven't even put Blase on the May, which is much more in his hero pool. Let Dante play the McCree, which is much more in his hero pool, by the way. He's more of a Sombra tracer, but those are in the hit scan category, so it makes more sense to put, like, I don't think Dante would be, even if he was the worst McCree in the league, which I don't know, maybe I'd have to look at the numbers and how far Dante, Blase is from the rest of the pack, but just, it would be closer. You'd be utilizing your roster better. So that's what's frustrating to me. Now, going into the year, I talked about a slow start because coaching staffs, especially ones that are brand new to being a head coach, need time to figure that stuff out. I don't know, but we didn't expect it to be this bad of a start. And it's easier to swallow those lines of thinking about, oh, we're figuring it out, we're testing, when you're, 1-3 or 2-2. And when you're able to beat Boston, when you give us something, and right now all you're giving us is horrible subs on map 7 that cost you a winnable matchup. So it's frustrating, but that's the state of the team. They've got decisions to make still, and we're just gonna have to wait and see what those decisions are, and then try to infer what happened at the end of it. But to me, if the homestand rolls around and Linkser just straight up didn't go to Washington this weekend and stayed home and was in bed, and he hits the stage and he looks healthy and he's clicking heads like crazy, then guess what? He was sick. That's what it is. But we'll see when we get there. In the meantime, just go watch Jexay kill montages. The YouTube videos covering Jexay, because that man looks incredible. I'm super pumped we got him. So,
well, it's definitely a big week for Houston, not only because it's their homestand. I mean, you got to get they're scrounging for some percentage points here, but they have arguably winnable matches, or at least close-ish.
2 of them should be winnable. One of them looks a whole less winnable this weekend than it did before. But we're going to get deeper into them. But yeah, they've got, well, let's just start the first one. Houston versus London. we just talked about the roster decisions for Houston. London switched up everything, basically. Everything they could switch, they did switch. It felt like this weekend, and then they went out there and won. And that included taking Bernard out, who was hands down their best player to me in the first week.
They
So
pulling the soul.
I don't think so. I think they just are doing the early game. You know, this was match 2 for them on the year, right? They had a single one before. So maybe the plan was, hey, we're going to try this configuration one week, this configuration the next week. To me, this was like the worst adaptation, and they just ran into a Justice team that like choked in the pressure, and also are tweeting about how sick they are after shaking hands with Houston at the end of the last week. So Houston's plan, they might look bad now, but you wait until the entire rest of the league's got the 2-month flu.
Yeah.
And Houston got over it, in the first, for a month before the season started. They'll look like geniuses. But in all seriousness, there's just question marks for London. We talked about how they didn't have to be bad just because they gave up what they gave up, but it's hard to be optimistic. Hopefully this helps the fans see that this wasn't, a super sloppy rebuild. It was just they weren't half-assing it when they decided to go in a new direction. They really just committed to it and dove in. I don't imagine they're elevating themselves to a top of the league team. We didn't know who the Washington Justice were, I don't think. We saw them beat Houston and lose to Philly. Okay, so you lost to number 1 in the standings and you beat number 20 in the standings. I don't know where you are.
Somewhere between the two.
That's as big of a gap as humanly possible. So I think the biggest takeaway here is not maybe is London good. It's maybe the Justice aren't. Corey doesn't look great on the anyways, this isn't a Justice segment. It's more about London. I want to see them get back to Bernard. I want to see them maybe I'm blanking on what exactly the rosters they threw out there was, but I want to see them lean on the individuals that maybe look best in the 2 games, maybe combine the 2 things that they've done a little bit. I know there was another switch and I'm just blanking on what it was, but regardless, not that Cleston, or I think is his name, performed poorly. Bernard looked very, very good, and Cleston looked adequate. So I want to see Bernard back in there, and I think that London is the better team right now. So I'm going to take London 3-1 until I know where Linkser is, until I see him hit the stage. So, aside from Babel and Shui. So Shui came in and Babel came out. Yeah, I hate that, because to me Babel was so good in the first week. That's a tough pill to swallow, but he was kind of the other piece that looked really good. Glister's been, I think, fine, but there's a lot of problems around him. J-Mac predominantly, I think, not to throw anyone specifically under the bus. There's more than that problem, but Houston versus London. You can't pick Houston until you see them do something. So I'm not gonna 3-1 London.
Yeah, it's hard for me to disagree with that one. What I'm really looking for if I'm a London fan is, please, for the love of winning, don't pull the soul and just roll the dice every week. Maybe, gain something from weeks previous and sculpt a starting roster rather than just having this nebulous thing that keeps going out because that's just not gonna be great. I do understand, at least in the first split, I guess we can call it, before hero pools, let's play around, let's get people out there and just see, like, baseline, are you actually good on stage? Okay, yes, all right, and then we can start building a starting roster for the next split of hero pool, next hero pool split. I get that. If that's what they're doing for these weeks, I'm perfectly on board with that. I do want to see a little more solidification going on for the teams in general, but I'm on board with it. It's very, like you said, you cannot pick Houston right now, even at their homestand. They're going to really need to show it to us now. Give me London 3-1 here as well. As for the second match that Houston is playing, that is going to be against our very own Toronto Defiant. Yeah. I mean, not really too much else to say that we haven't already said about both rosters. Toronto 3-0. Not close, I don't think.
Same. The only thing I want to add is if still can't play, or if you don't want him to play, can you steal the Toronto dive comp, please, and run it a lot? Like the hack fist fits what you're throwing out there. Blaze's PogChamp on the Doom Fist. So Dante is one of the best Sombras in the league, according to what we've seen in the past. It just fits you. Run it. Muma's I've always thought a little bit better on he's very well rounded, at least in whether you think I don't know, he's dropped off a lot this year, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
But historically, he's a little bit better of a Winston player, I think, than a Reinhardt player. So it just makes a lot of sense for me to see Houston play when I'm watching Toronto play. And also, I hate it when my children fight. But yeah, Toronto 3-0.
Yep. All right. Speaking of 3-0s, let's move on to Florida versus New York. I mean, I'm not picking them 3-0. That's for sure.
You're not.
It's true. New York, I mean, you're putting a scare in me here. Again, it's still early. We're still playing around. I do hope that I hope one of two things happens. I don't want to keep putting the round who are you as May peg into the square. The round who are you peg into the square hole of nope, that's going to sound bad. I don't want to see who are you playing May anymore, okay? That I did not think that through before I started that sentence. I either want them to play libero and just try to win, or play around it. Play your dive comp, try to circumvent. New York in the past traditionally has done that. They've said, yeah, meta schmeta. Let's dive fleta. There's an episode title for you if you've ever heard one. It's just not working. Don't fit the round peg into the square hole. It's not going to. It's just not working. Who are you is not a good May player. Libero, like you said, could be. We don't need to go too much deeper into that. I hope that they're gaining things from these, because in the past, traditionally, season 1, season 2, New York has not. They've always been good, and because of that, I think a lot of times they don't learn from their wins. They don't learn from their losses. They go, oh, we won again. Okay, great. Or, oh, we lost. Well, it won't happen again. And then it does at very pivotal times. I hope we start seeing little bits of improvement, see some changes, even if those don't pan out. I am fine with them having a little bit, and I mean a little bit of a rocky start if they're actually trying out new things and learning from this early in the season so that they can pay off in the late game. That being said, I'm still picking New York 5-0 against the Florida Mayhem, but I'm preparing myself for maybe a little bit of a rockier start for New York.
Not to give too much video content away. New York's one loss, and I think one that showed everybody the shortcomings of who are you was, in my opinion, against the best May player in Overwatch League so far among the active players. It's not what they're going up against this week. So I think they're fine if they want to run the May. Personally, I think BQB had a really good first week. Not bought in yet. Not in the same way I am to the SBB decision from New York. So I'm definitely giving New York the edge. That said, I think Florida is the one that did level up, maybe not twice like some of Toronto or potentially Philly, but I do think Florida has leveled up, joined that middle of the pack. They're going to be able to pressure New York. They're going to win a map. I'm going to take New York 3-1. Not going to be surprised if Florida does win, but I'll be pretty close to surprised if they do it with BQB instead of Saya player. I want more Saya player. I've been a big fan of this guy for a while. BQB looked good. He played against Houston. He played. I don't remember who his other opponent in that week, but yeah, going head to head in the McCree duel against Blase is going to be a stat booster.
Yeah.
So I think the stories of how good he was aren't wrong, but I think they're a little bit overdone. Yeah, I think New York's still the advantage here.
Yeah, definitely hard to pick against New York still, even after suffering a loss. Next up, we've got Florida versus London. Already talked pretty extensively about both of these teams. I agree with you. Although I do think since the beginning of the season, we've seen at least a mini level up from London, we've seen a bit of a bigger level up from Florida. They're at least a more proven commodity, and I think that proven commodity is going to be at a higher ranking than London right now. Give me Florida 3-1.
Yeah, right there with you. 3-1, same score. Florida's success is carrying over from last year.
Mm-hmm.
London's popped up randomly out of nowhere.
Yep.
So I think you've got to take Florida here, but it very easily could be competitive. It's upset potential. I'm not picking it, but it could happen for sure.
Easy flip here if you're looking for one this week.
Yeah, if it was week 27 and you were behind in pick'ems, I'd flip.
Yep, 100%. All right, let's get to a season debut here for the Atlanta Reign, going up against our boys in red and black, Toronto Defiant. Man, I think this one's a tough one to call, I think.
Super, super tough. Toronto made it a lot harder with the hurt they put on Philly. They showed they can stand there and I think fight with just about anybody in the league, whether that makes them favorites or not. We're speeding up this process for the sake of the sentimental segment later on, so I'm just going to get right to it. I'm taking our boys, the Toronto Defiant, to win here 3-2. Atlanta has too many question marks. I think if I got to pick the lineup for Atlanta, okay, and I got to pick the 6 players that got put out, I'd feel probably pretty confident that Atlanta would win. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I don't think that's not been Seffi's MO. Okay. Right. That's not been the way he's operated. This is the man that signed to Fran. Okay. He's going to try some things. So who's your tank line? Is it Sharp or is it Edison alongside Erster? And honestly, I don't know the state of their McCree play well enough to really make too educated of a prediction there. Right. So until those questions are answered with how well Toronto's looking and the way they're playing off meta to their strengths, I don't think Atlanta's going to have been able to prepare for it. Right. And I think that's going to give them a slight edge. But I mean, I'm picking an upset here. I'm aware of that. In perception, but I think it's a lot closer than people think. This one is the one I'm circling on the week, which is really sad considering it's my team's homestand. But this is the match I'm circling on the schedule. But here we are. Yeah, I can't wait. I've been dying to see Atlanta play, to get some of those questions answered, and I've loved every second of Toronto on stage so far. So
yes,
we got
this one's a tough one for me because
brain in your heart.
Our boys have leveled up. They've gotten, I think, a little mini level up since the beginning of the season. They're really showing it. But man, Atlanta is they're my not really even that dark of a horse this season to really show and take a take a shot at a top billing here, a top 5 billing. I think even at their best right now, Toronto is top half, maybe even top quarter. I guess top 5 is top quarter. I'm not seeing them being at that top. Now, this is purely speculation, but I'm putting my faith in the dog man, even though I want Toronto to win. Give me Atlanta 3-2. And with that comes our flip here. I found my Hearthstone coin.
Oh, thank God.
I know. I was gonna say.
Thanks you.
The one is heads. The back side, this side is tails. I mean, we got to give tails never fails for Toronto, right?
Of course.
All right. And there it is, folks. The coin has spoken. Tails never fails for Toronto, which means DB and the coin are correct here, and I am the sole detractor.
You're gonna look so stupid in 1 week.
I'm gonna look so stupid, and I'm gonna look like a traitor. There's no winning here for me. And if they win, I'm gonna still look like a traitor. So there's no
Chat
winning here.
is spamming Masa at me. Like, I love that man. I love that man. There's 5. I just don't know who's playing with him. That's it.
The only thing is,
what if they play Kodak? Then who?
Gator looked really, really superb on the Sigma, who's not seeing play right now. So I think that definitely takes a little bit away.
I mean, we could see the Gator Hawk combo as the tanks.
Right.
We could see. I mean, we can see a lot of different things from the tank line. They're versatile. They're very, very good prospects.
Yeah.
I'm not sold on Gator, who's been in the league for a while, played in the playoffs, performed pretty well because of the hero selection issue.
Right.
And I'm definitely not sold on Hawk because he's a rookie, and I'm not sold on any rookies until they do something. So, it's all about question marks to me. And I'm excited to see what Atlanta does, because I really, despite me having question marks and not knowing, the tools are there, right? And I do trust in the coaching staff and the organization to get it right. I guess I'm just a little bit hoping it's not this week.
Right. I mean, I also am, even though I picked against them. I'm a filthy traitor, and I should be punished for it. All right, let's move on and see Atlanta's second game against Paris here. We can run through this one a little bit quicker. I think this is a tier list difference. I mean, again, if Toronto comes out and beats Atlanta, all bets are off. But where we sit today in the projections, Atlanta is just solidly a tier above Paris. I'll give them the 3-1 here.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm not going to pick Atlanta to lose twice. They're second in the notes, so I assume this is the order in which they'll play. I
think
so. Yeah, Paris is a team I'm like trying to stake a claim on a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, I really love what I'm seeing from them. And after the performance I saw from Hanbin this weekend, part of me wants to double down. But if Atlanta has any questions or has any performances that don't work out, they'll have the time to adjust, make a change, something along those lines, or maybe the wrong lineups in store for Toronto, the right ones in store for Paris. We don't know how they're going to handle it. I think too highly of them to pick them to go 0-2 this week, but I do think this matchup could be very, very close. I'm very impressed with what Paris has been able to do so far. But Atlanta 3-1.
Yep. Last match we are talking about here is Philly versus Boston. This one's not close. Philly easy 3-0.
Yep.
Yeah. Nothing
5-0.
more.
5-0.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say you're giving them the 5-0. I like it. All right, guys, that's gonna be it for the regular episode. We're gonna take just a quick break here, and then we're gonna be back and do a little bit of fan service and thank yous and just reading some comments from you guys, the fans. Stick around. We'll be right back. All right, we are back. Thank you guys for waiting. What in your time was probably roughly 1 second. We're back here because it is episode number 200. I can't believe we've made it this far. Deathbow's getting the tissues out and ready for the cry fest we're about to have.
Probably no sobbing, but sniffling is
all I have is my Kermit puppet, so hopefully I won't be sobbing too much. But we've got we asked you guys on pretty short notice because that is that's
how
what
we
do.
operate.
Yeah, never give you any notice. Plus, if you give more than like a day's notice, people just don't do it till the last minute anyway. We got some messages, some questions, just some nice stuff from a bunch of folks in the community, and we really appreciate it. So we're going to read some of these. I will start us off here with the very first one that I saw from none other than the Blackwatch Report's Kyle Wynn. He says, "Hey, DB and Blevins, just wanted to say it's been a great few years so far. There have been many fun moments like Thorne's dog eating dinner from the counter during ATP, the dawn of The Outlaws Are Coming, the mispronouncing of Brigetti for a whole week, and let's add that we got Mark Von Lommel coming into our Discord and being like, it's actually pronounced Brigitte, which spawned
a lot of people were upset Brigetti about
particular.
Good.
It's been amazing having your support as well. With Thorne and I started the Blackwatch Report and having a great foundation to build off of and a great community to be a part of. Seriously, this is one of the best communities out there. I love chilling in voice or text chat with people during games, speculating on big team moves, making terrible fantasy picks. I can relate to that. And the odd game nights that we used to have. Best of luck in the next 200 episodes. Much love always, Kyle."
Yeah, I don't know if we
I-
want to. I don't know if we really want to respond to him.
So I really
Kyle.
think that Kyle this week needs to. No, yeah, we're not going into analysis on these, but thank you so much, Kyle.
Yeah, thank you. We love you and Thorn to death. Anything you guys ever need, content, Overwatch, real life related, say the word. You know where to find us, buddy. Thank you.
Kyle, you got to make it out to one of these events, by the way, too, because
Toronto homestand, you bum.
Get there. You can stay at my house. Confirmed.
Yeah, we have couches.
I do have a very.
I don't actually.
I do. I have a very comfy couch, and my house generally holds multiple people anyway. So yes, get the Toronto homestand. You bum. Death, you want to take this next one?
Yeah, this one's on on Twitter at ATE4 the Titan. Congratulations on 200 episodes. Good milestone. It's been said that the OWL fan base doesn't consume as much third-party content as other esports. What things would you do to help solve this? Yeah, thank you so much for the questions. Thank you for the kind words. Really, really appreciate it. Do what I'm doing. Content creators, like I've kind of had this conversation before, and we're bearing it at the end of the episode, so I'm going to make a call out. One thing that really bothered me and pushed me to wanting to go into making YouTube content and things like that was actually it was something Monty said kind of on his way out the door when he was breaking up with the league. It was that nobody watches the YouTube content. Like I put out my power rankings video and it does so much worse than something I put out League of Legends related and blah, 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 blah. So I don't know what his content is in other games. As far as Overwatch League specific YouTube content, I've never once been happy with what I've seen. And that's always been kind of a driving force for us whenever we started a podcast. And really this podcast is maybe the one that wasn't. It wasn't driven by that. It was just this game looks PogChamp. We've got to get in on this. But sometimes we consume content and we hate it, and it's still the best that's out there. And we're not going to name any names, but it's why we started a Hearthstone podcast, and we lost that fight. That's fine. The people we hated were still better. Whatever.
For what it's worth, even though we're not naming names, I don't actually hate that person. I like a lot of their other podcasts. I just hated that podcast.
Yeah, that show, it was like format, whatever it was. We just weren't a fan, and we really thought we could bring something
6 years ago or whatever.
Yeah, this was a long time.
Literally,
ago.
Probably more than that actually.
I'm sure they've gotten way better. Are they still active? Probably.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're not naming them. We don't have to talk about it. But yeah, and
if you wanted no, I'm kidding.
That's something that really struck me in that conversation. It's like, you mean on YouTube, you sitting in a chair talking into your microphone with like maybe your web browser being shown on screen didn't perform well. Like, to me, it was lazy content that was being put out surrounding Overwatch League. And that's why when you see me put out a VOD review, I'm in the replay viewer. I'm cutting things up. I'm slowing them down. I'm amping the audio when I hear something I like. You can go in depth on these things. And if you take the lazy route, you just don't, I think, give people something that they really, really want to watch. And that's what I'm trying to do, is use the tools that are available. I want to incorporate Stats Lab information into my videos. I want to continue to constantly use the replay viewer to pump out this content because it's the best view. It's the best view of the action. It's the best insight that anybody could possibly give you. So my question, or my answer to that is what can be done, is you can try harder and you can put out better content. And a lot of times that's a lazy answer, and again, this isn't about Overwatch. There's a lot of very good Overwatch content on YouTube. This is specifically about Overwatch League, and I'm sure I've missed some. I'm sure there's good people out there, but for whatever reason, I just haven't found you yet. So that's what I think people should do is put some elbow grease on it, put some shine on it, use the replay viewer, use all the tools that you have to enhance your content. And I think you can make the content more interesting. I think you can make the league more interesting to people. And hopefully I'm going to set a good example for that and see some benefits from it and for the YouTube channel. So follow us on YouTube.
Yes. The only thing that I'll add to that is, from the onset of this show, we have taken the mindset of we are the sports talk radio of Overwatch. This is way before Overwatch League. This is before Gosu Gamers
game.
Weeklies.
This was before the game released.
This is before the game came out. We made a conscientious decision. We've done podcasts before. We know our rapport. We have consumed traditional sports content our whole lives. We've played traditional sports growing up our whole lives. That's what we get, and that's a perspective that we saw wasn't really in a lot of places being perpetuated a lot. Now, granted, this is almost 5 years ago. Now you see it at least a little bit more with, actual traditional sports, people coming in. But even then, so not a lot, and especially not for Overwatch League. The things that we can do are keep putting out our content, and like, what do you see as third-party content for traditional sports? What is being done in baseball? What is being done in football? It's fantasy, which we've done. We've started, and I think a bit of it is putting the cart before the horse, because we're not going to have 1 million people watching or listening to a Fantasy Overwatch League podcast if there's 50 people who play Fantasy Overwatch League, right? We can't, we can do everything that we can with our community to do that. But at the end of the day, if people don't consume it, it doesn't matter. We can do a better job. Yes, we can do more. Yes, the community as a whole can do more. But a lot of times I think people think that they need to reinvent the wheel, and you need to tweak things. You need to think about your audience. But at the end of the day, like, you don't need to reinvent the wheel on everything. It's the same sorts of content that people like to watch. The biggest thing, I think, the biggest difference between sort of traditional sports and esports is that traditional sports content is ingrained in people for decades. It is part of their life, their upbringing, their family, their community. We're at the absolute onset of that in a lot of ways. So I think it's going to take time for people to get into that. People don't care about the Houston Outlaws if you live in Houston necessarily. You do. And we do, as people who are creating an Overwatch League podcast, but we didn't grow up listening to, and we didn't grow up going to the homestands. The kids that are in the homestands now that are 6 years old, that went with their dad, those people in 20 years, their kids are going to be the ones that grew up with it. We need, it's going to take physical amounts of time for that to get there. And I think what we can do as a community is keep doing what we're doing, get better, improve, and at the end of the day, the cart has to come after the horse at least a little bit. So that's what I have to say. ATE, thank you for the question and the kind words. Really do appreciate it. All right, let's go to Totem here. Totemly Drunk on Discord says, congrats on hitting the 200th episode milestone. Thank you, Totem. It's surreal to think about how much the Overwatch podcast landscape has changed since the early beta days. It means the world to see a few OGs still kicking and producing quality content on a weekly basis. Quality is a strong word.
We get a lot of credit we don't deserve, but we take it every time.
we take those. Love seeing the numbers of directions you've taken within the scene and branching out more to highlight other avenues / bringing new concepts. I mean, that's something that we have just prided ourselves on and just kind of done out of seeing an opportunity and having a passion. Something like ATP started when, we brainstormed just the thought of doing it. Hey, it would be a cool idea to do something. It's like, well, I think I can actually do that if I have a stream deck and we can figure out, and then boom, ATP happens. Hey, do you want to do there's a fantasy Overwatch platform. Should we do a podcast on it? Okay. Yeah. And then even in other games, I mean, we see an opportunity. We have a passion for it. Let's go for it. It's something we've really liked to do. Totem goes on to say, I won't lie though, I get a good chuckle every time I see it. A lot of that comes from Ednar and I having an inside joke where we come up with bewildering directions that we think you take regardless of how ridiculous our ideas for you get. Thanks again for years of entertainment. Thank you so much for the kind words, Totem. And you're right there, one of the OGs, trailblazing it along with us. sticking around. Also one of the few people on Earth that I can say does a similar number of podcasts as me.
Definitely. In that vein, I just want to say we've strayed too far. If Ednar thinks that we've gone round the bend, that's too far.
Right.
No, we're kidding. We love Totem. Both of them. Thank you so much. And you're one of those OGs too, man. Heroes Never Die, episode 198, episode 199 is coming up next, I believe, for you guys.
Yeah.
So you guys are right there as well. Super pumped to have you guys alongside us on the the ride here.
Club.
Yeah, the 200 club. The Collab's getting pretty close as well.
Yeah.
They must be slacking though, because I feel like they were one that was like predated us in calendar time. It was not long after, if not.
Is very close.
I remember
it's tough to know.
I remember
because,
when I joined my team and I didn't know who he was at the time, and like looked him, and like I looked him up, and he was like, I thought he like predated us.
Possible. I don't.
Yeah,
it's hard to remember because like I the only podcasts I remember being around when we started were Overwatchers, and that actually might be it. The only one that I knew of.
There definitely wasn't many, but yeah, thank you so much, Totem. Also had a question here from Totem. He asked, with the most recent cancellations, should Overwatch League scrap the midseason tournament in an effort to reschedule more matches? Blevins, we talked about this before this question was asked, so take it away.
What do you mean, take away an exhibition match that doesn't mean anything and play the actual meaningful regular season matches? Sounds like a double win for. It sounds like a win-win for everyone. Yes, scrap it. I mean, the only thing that's weird is there's prize money associated with that, right? With that mid-season tournament. Honestly, just donate the prize money to a relief fund for the virus. Just as the league. I mean, unless there's for some reason some really, if the teams have a really huge objection to that, just donate the prize money to a charity, and scrap the mid-season tournament. Play the games, get them played. It'll solve a logistic issue. It will be a good cause. It will be turning a horrible thing into something positive, and it will at least kind of get us a little bit back on track.
Yeah, Thorn in chat says send the teams to Australia to play. I'm gonna one up that. Bring them to America to play. Like, do you still have the Blizzard Arena? Can we just turn it back on? I'm sure it's dismantled, but we don't need that huge screen anymore. I just feel like we need to do something to. I mean, it feels invariable to me that getting those guys out of China and Korea at this point is just the absolute best case scenario. So let's do that. Yeah, I don't know. There's no right answer here, right? There's
I have the right
there's
answer.
No good solution. All right, well, Blevins has got it. Let's hear it.
I'll one up you. Have the games played at the actual Horizon lunar colony. Send them to the moon.
Snap it off, Blizzard.
Thorn also says in the chat, I know of an amazing charity. It's called Contenders. Yikes. You want to take this next one, Death?
Yes. This one comes from I am Danny Rand on Discord. Just want to say thank you for the hard work that for the work you've done. Didn't say hard. I'm not going to put words in anybody's mouth.
Hard.
Accurate. You guys helped motivate me to start my own Overwatch podcast and listening to how much fun you guys. I zoomed in too far. Okay.
Definitely
yeah,
I can barely read.
Definitely a huge part in me deciding to create my own content. Thanks again, and hoping for 200 more. Danny, thank you so much. Honestly, to me, those are the ones that stick home and give me the goosebumps that the camera probably can't pick up on my arm. I love helping people get started with podcasting. More on this when we get to Blaze and Bob's question later. Podcasting had a big positive effect on I believe both of us. I'm more than willing to say that for Blevins. And if we can help people get into it as well and help grow I mean, listen, people aren't, we want all the viewers we can get and listeners we can get and everything like that.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, though, the scene's better served if it goes wide, right?
Right.
Because people aren't going to like us. People aren't going to like every other content creator in the world. So the
Yeah.
more content creators you have doing it, the more everybody's able to find their home, and that's more important than anything else. It's always been one of my favorite things to hear this. You guys inspired me to start something,
Yep.
or when we've been able to help Blackwatch Report and the guys that took over Foul Play, getting A Smith involved into podcasting. It's hands down, to me, some of the best and most touching feedback that we can possibly get. So really, thank you very much.
Yeah, I mean, think about who our like closest like friends in the community are. It's the people who are creating content, just because we're doing the same thing. We're honing the same craft, doing the same thing, have passion for the same things, and it's like we've never been like, oh well, yeah, they're getting a little big. Let's not talk. Let's not play with them. It's like, no, I don't really care. I honestly, I've kind of gotten the impression that some people, not even necessarily in the Overwatch community, but like there's some communities that are more cliquey than others and like don't want to associate with, air quotes, competitors. But like, at the end of the day, we're 200 episodes in, and this is still not either of our full-time jobs, so I don't actually care. I would much rather have the friends.
Yeah,
I'd much rather have the friends
we
along the way.
actually do this because we really, really enjoy it. So
Yeah.
everything else is secondary, and if it wasn't that, it probably wouldn't have worked, right? I think it would have been very transparent and very obvious that was the case. So yeah, thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Okay, next up we have what looks like a poem from Hippo. It's let me see if I can zoom this out a little bit because boomer eyes can't read.
Zoom in on the whole thing instead of zooming in the picture. That'll help you.
Okay, I made it worse. Roses are red, Dallas burns blue, rhyming is dumb. Thanks for the great owl discussion, entertainment, and broken sound drops. You're welcome. You are a valuable time slot in my podcast feed that helps my work week go by a little bit faster, and I appreciate the memes. Hippo, thank you so much. You are a consummate.
Hippo, really appreciate it. Don't tell him it's okay. Sorry, go ahead.
It's okay. He said it's a good thing. Well, spoiler alert, wasn't going to fix him anyway. But really, Hippo, thank you so much. You've been a long time supporter and listener, and yeah, it's so cool seeing the swath, because there's like, it's almost like is it called stratification, where like you look at like old canyons and you can see like, because of the like varying levels of like rock, you can see how old something is. You know what I'm talking about?
We get it. You're smarter than me.
I'm not even trying to be. I'm trying to, like, you can see like people who are around like way back in the day, and then there's new people, and then there's new people, and like different layers of people. I don't know. Maybe it's not stratification. I don't remember. But thank you so much, Hippo. You are a long timer. We love it. You want to take the next one,
Yeah, I'm live updating the mission here.
Well, while you're doing that, I'll read the question, because this one's a little more in depth. We got one from Darth Pootie Tang. Says, thanks for the great shows. Here's to 200 more. Why are people only saying there's going to be 200 more? Why not 1,000 more? I'm kidding. I'd like to hear DB and Blevins give their not goats, all-star team of players from Apex to Owl, and what hero you would put them on. We went outside of Apex and Owl. We went all time, and we went our GOAT, as in greatest of all time, team of Overwatch players, period. And we're doing the Madden or NBA 2K or MLB game version, where it's like, okay, I want 92 Jordan, I want I want Shaq from 2005, like that type of. It's not like I get the average of Shaq, or I get the average of Jordan. I want specific time period, this player, etc. So how do we want to do? We want to do one at a time each.
Who's your main tank?
Okay, my main tank is going to be Miro from Lunatic High. The back in the day, He was the original. He was the original inspiration for the now debunked player combine that was supposed to happen. He won the MVP for Overwatch World Cup 2016 and was just I think in a lot of ways showed the world what the bounds of Winston were at a time before Winston was really seen as like a superpower and like able to do all these crazy things. So there were people playing Winston a little bit, but he really sort of revolutionized what we see as Winston today. And I think it was the fact that people caught up to him really, but like in that time frame snapshot, he was
transcendent in his role and in his hero. Absolutely. Yep. Was wrong though. The answer's Fraggy. Hashtag beard power. I want current day Fraggy. You know why?
Like literally today.
Because he's still better than Sato. Don't at me. What do you think of that, Blevins?
I mean, you're right. Give the W to Deathloop for that.
Snap it off.
That's just,
my team's better already.
That's just I mean, sometimes you just got to take the L, and this is that time. Who's your off take, Death?
I'm going Zappos. And again, this is a current day Zappos because I feel fairly confident that 30 years from now, I'm still going to be yelling and screaming about how the man never got a fair shake and a fair chance. Signed to the league was never more than like I'm wearing sunglasses in the audience meme on the broadcast. And that's crazy to me. He's an old timer. If you've been around as long as we have, you absolutely know all about Zappos. Just constantly was like on those teams that seem to overperform your expectations. I just always had a soft spot for Zappos. So I'm going, as you can tell, I'm going a little more nostalgic and and personal.
So am I.
Okay, Miro.
Hey, that's nostalgic. That was 4 years ago.
It certainly was. But it was also serious because he was
I have my actual off tank, but I just remembered, and I can't remember the name because boomer brain. Who was PogChamp Roadhog on Ninjas in Pajamas? Like made up triple tank. Like wasn't that
Harblue?
No. Harblue is from NA. I'm thinking of an EU player. I know I know who Harblue is, and he is another one of those players. I don't think it was Harblue. Someone in chat has to know. I'm pretty sure Ninjas in Pajamas wasn't
Himsy?
I think it was Himsy. That's not who I'm picking though. That just came to my mind when I was thinking. I couldn't think of them earlier. No, this one. Okay, off tank. We're talking about best off tanks of all time.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. It was Himsy.
Yeah. I looked up. I think so. I'm thinking best off tanks of all time. I'm thinking best diva players of all time. As much as it pains me to admit it today, I have to pick.
Outlaws are coming.
I have to pick Mickey on the Dallas Fuel back in the day. His diva was, again, like Miro, revolutionary. He was playing diva before other people were. Go back and watch the old Envy days. He was insane. I'm not talking at all about a Dallas Fuel Mickey. Do not.
I think he had just the winningest smile the whole time.
Go back and look at those old VODs, man. They won a lot of matches, and a lot of it was Mickey. Remember, they went to Apex and they just found this player, Mickey.
Yeah, Mickey was a very cool story. The way he got added to the team, they basically went out there and like lost their off tank in the middle of a trip to Korea where they couldn't just recruit and trial people. They pulled Mickey from. He was I think he's Taiwanese, right?
He is. Yes, Thailand.
I don't know exactly what his experience was, but they definitely elevated him to the big time, and he did perform for them. I'm
telling you, innovative.
Still think your girlfriend made that pick for you, but at the end of the day,
may have a gun pointed at my head right now.
Hey,
I'm
listen,
not going to confirm.
These,
I am
these
blinking
are
in Morse code.
And if wanting somebody to succeed means anything, I mean, Mickey has to be highly thought of right up until he joined the Dallas Fuel.
Yeah, 100% there. All right, I'll go with my my first DPS player here, and I mean this is an all-star like single game performance card like insert if you've ever seen one. It's got to be World Cup 2017 Flower. I mean, just dominant. Had Absolutely no follow-up to that whatsoever. Did not pan out at all. Did not do anything relevant whatsoever besides build hype that ended up falling through completely. But that's okay, because I'm taking the snapshot of not even a one time frame, one tournament player in Flower 2017.
I think it was 16 though. But
was it 16? Because 16 was
so.
the first year. I don't think it was the first year, because
then you're probably right.
Because I think this was the first. 17 was the first year that Overwatch League teams existed, and 2016 was right before Overwatch League.
Always in November, so it's so close to the change of the year.
2016,
anyways,
remember, because Miro,
he was only in one World Cup anyways. So
right. Well, Miro was, remember, because Miro got the MVP of 2016. I did check that, and that was, he's going to go into the combine, or not the combine for, nope, not even going to comment further on that. The combine,
no bowling jokes.
For he's going to the combine for season 1 of Overwatch League, which was November 2016, which means November 2017 was when the teams existed. Flower was too young, but he still played on the World Cup team in 2017, which is when he popped off. It definitely wasn't 2016. If anything, it was 2018, but I'm pretty sure that wasn't it. So yeah, give me Flower from exactly that weekend. Just absolutely like literally he is he is an insert in a card pack that would be like epic performances, Flower, World Cup 2017. Don't look at any other performances besides that. Just look at that. Give me Flower, World Cup 2017.
Pay no attention to the man behind the keyboard. Just look at the
look at the Widowmaker popping off and demolishing a Team USA.
So my DPS tandem pairs well together to me.
Okay.
And I'm up to give the 2 in a row anyways. So I'm gonna do it. The first one's Prophet. The era of Prophet that I want is the Prophet era, and the hero that I want him on is all of them. The other DPS player in my tandem is Contenders Season 0 Linkser. They were the ones that upset. He was on Gigante for Season 0. Yeah. They upset Misfits. They were kind of the surprise that was the fraggy Linkser Zappos team. Yes, I'm rebuilding it. Get off my back. But I put Prophet on it, so now we can't lose.
Right.
And yeah, so I think he was phenomenal in that. Obviously his Widowmaker has continued to be, except for late last year or whatever, but he was transcendent to me on Genji at the time. I remember me and Blevins like just jaws on the floor watching him attack Pharahs out of the air on Genji in a way we've just not seen a lot of other people do it. And I think that even though the hero pool is a little narrow on the Linkser side, that's fine, because Profits is so big, it makes up for it completely. Linkser's the bird ring that they're what they always wanted in bird ring, I should say, to me, especially that era of Linkser. So yeah, that's my DPS duo, and I obviously want Yuri clicking heads on me. So
I mean, that's a hard one to go up against. But I've got World Cup 2017 Flower, which I think is a just top 5 all-time performance. And I think a lot of people would agree with that. Let's go old school. We're talking, okay, you're talking Gigante times. Okay, you're talking Season 1 Overwatch League times. Okay, you're talking Contenders.
We got to get Fraggy in here. Did you pronounce Gigante wrong again?
Gigante. Giganti.
That would have tilted him off the face.
You went kind of OG, but no. We're talking about the original Michael Jordan of Overwatch. We're talking about the original. We dedicated episodes talking about whether teams were going to change their meta specifically to him. And that, of course, is the Mydong / IDDQD, the player, not the team, era level Pluppy. Not Tavik, Pluppy. Give me the OG GOAT. There is no question that in the beginning days of Overwatch that he was the best around and dominated for quite some time on a variety of teams. Give me the My Dong Puppy.
Yeah, and I just want to give a quick shout out to the hit scan DPS I almost went with. That was Slasher. Yes, we've been watching long enough that we've seen Slasher ring
True.
for and fill in for teams and
That is
tournaments. That is a thing. Go find that footage if you can.
We did
tweet it at them.
We did watch that. And to answer Darth Booty Tang here, no, neither of us picked DeFran. You
minus 10 points for even suggesting it.
You uncultured swine. JK, thank you for the question. Okay, I'm gonna round out my last two here. My main support, I've had a bunch of meme answers so far, but this is by far easily the most meme question meme answer because the only main support I could think of was one that you picked. So I wasn't going to take it from you. I'm going with the OG, the Lucio comp, the Lucio highlight reel video, DSP Stanky, the YouTuber, #1 Lucio in the world, clickbait title. Give me the ultimate Lucio. I mean, there is no better Lucio, right? He is the greatest of all time. Look no further than that statement or the YouTube description, please. Definitely my most meme answer. Maybe Mickey's a more of a meme answer. I don't know. And then my last one to give you the complete opposite of a meme is just Season 1 Jonak, just for my flex support. Just Zenyatta, Jonak doesn't need more than that. Don't need to reinvent the wheel here because he is the wheel. Easy pick, greatest of all time, not close.
All right. So for my support line, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
I've loved these guys for
a
long time. They're a duo. I'm fairly certain they were on that Gigante roster as well.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly
just remade Gigante.
I didn't make the Gigante connection until we started recording. I honestly
until right now where it's Gigante, Prophet, Gigante.
Right. I may have been madly in love with that team. For main support, listen, you don't have to look far, right? Just give me the largest goose that you can possibly find. I don't want a small goose, okay? I do not. So give me a very, very big goose. And I said it's a duo, so that already ripped the Band-Aid off. It's Shaz.
Yeah.
They have been my support line dream. When the roster for Houston was getting announced, and it was Linkser, and it was Cool Matt, and it was the green color, and it was the bad guy, everything was falling into place. And I just was internally screaming, sign Big Goose and shit. Like, I would have been the biggest. I mean, I'm a big Outlaws fan now.
Yeah.
You have no idea the level of standing that I would have gone into had they literally just finished the trifecta and brought in Big Goose and Shaz. I've had a bit of a man crush on those two for quite some time. So that's it.
That is it. Those are our greatest of all times. Post yours in I don't know what chat we should put them in. Maybe just in general. No, probably not in general. It's gonna be a lot.
Show suggestions. Put them in there. Keep them in
show. Put them in show suggestions. Let's see who you guys put up, and anyone who puts in either DeFran or XQC automatic loss.
We'll just kick you out.
Yeah, banned forever. Okay, Death. You want to take these next couple?
The oest of G's is our next submission here. I carry him. I've been arguing with this man, British man, in Discord for 4 years now. Seriously, it has been a fantastic podcast, in my humble opinion, from number 1 to 200. I really think he's probably heard everything we've ever said in front of a microphone. It's been a pleasure to listen to, and the fact that Blizzard haven't put you two on the owl desk just proves that they have no idea what they're doing. Keep on doing what you are doing. Thank you so much, Icarium. You've driven me to the brink of insanity at times. It's called soccer. That's all. That's the only response I have to you. In all seriousness, for everything you've done for us. Patreon, literally every step of the way. You've been a big supporter of ours. Absolutely, in the High Noon family. Love you so much.
And honestly, the dissenting voice that we always hoped would culminate naturally. We hate not hate, but it's a different experience when you're in an echo chamber of everyone's like, oh yeah, everything these guys say is right. Yay, you're awesome. I mean, everyone who says that are very smart people because obviously we are right all the time. But
Yep.
it's just fun to have the dissenting opinion and the you dolts don't have any idea what you're talking about. London, of course, is gonna win here. Love it. It's just great.
Yeah, and honestly, probably no one person for me cementing my own opinions and thoughts on how the league should be formed. I
Yeah.
really do a lot of that through debate and through discussion, and having him helped me formulate, plan, and get my thoughts into a way where I could express them on the show. So you've had a measurable and very serious impact on the quality of our content, and we thank you.
Yes. Absolutely. Thank you again, I carry him. All right, next one here is Warhen, who I believe recently subscribed on the channel. Thank you again if you're still here. And thank you in the future if you're listening in the podcast world. Warhen says, your podcast is the best thing I've ever stumbled across. I'm so sorry that that's the case. That I don't know if I've ever heard anything sadder than that, but thank you nonetheless. I've always been rather shy, but this community you've built is top-notch. Made me feel like it's okay to share my opinion and to be part of a conversation of something I love. Easily the best podcast ever. I'm so sorry that you haven't listened to any other podcast. Go listen. There's other ones out there. Maybe
You're on all of them. It can't
It's
be
true.
that hard to be the best.
True. Maybe for the 200th episode, Deathblow can be the biggest uprising fan ever seen. Lamau, that would be a treat. I mean, I was going to say yes for it. I don't think it's going to happen. But thank you again, Warhen. Thank you so much. And yes, anyone who's in or listening to this, who's listening the hour and a half deep into the fan service episode, if you ever think that it's an intimidating place in the community, in the Discord community, just chime in. We love hearing people. We keep it open. We don't. The only things we ever censor or delete is when people are actively belligerent, which is very, very rare.
I've kicked 2 people ever out, and I've deleted maybe 2-3 messages in total in the entirety of Discord history. We don't have a rules page. I've always been very proud of the fact that we've never needed to define acceptable behavior in our Discord.
Pretty self-policing.
The most we have to do is I have to banish people to the off-topic channel sometimes, just so people can not turn off notifications for us.
Right. Yeah. So if you ever want to talk about stuff, throw it in there. We're happy to talk. We get all sorts of everything involving everything involving Overwatch, and then we have the off-topic channel for other things too. So really do appreciate it, and just want you guys to be able to talk about stuff. Right, Death? Want to get to this Thornrain one?
Yeah, absolutely. Thornrain, congratulations on 200. Listener to a Patreon giving show suggestions to a staff member. I wouldn't have had the confidence or know how to start my own first show without you on your on-air push and help. I can't describe how grateful I am for all your help in my growth as a content creator. All the staff, the community have been amazing to interact with, and that's just because of you guys and what you have built. Me and my son got to experience our first esports event with you guys, and have been a member of this community and wouldn't want it any other way. As a member of the staff, I look forward to everything you guys have planned for the future and can't wait to see the next 200 episodes. And remember, it's high noon. Thorn, we said it already about Kyle. Absolutely, you're like a brother to us. We love you. You're welcome anytime. Go on any of our trips with us. We would love to have you.
Toronto homestand, by the way.
You and Ty, I've already been trying to make that happen. But yeah, appreciate it. Love the work you guys have done for High Noon. It's a two-way street. You guys have given us back. You guys have helped foster the contenders conversation side of our Discord that would have been very lacking had it just been left to myself and Blevins. The High Noon family is not complete without you and Kyle. So thank you.
100%. Yes. We love you guys. All right. Sorry. I want to comment on all of these, but we're pushing time here. So going to go through. We're going to go through all of them, but we're going to not have the in-depth commentary on all of them. From the Cinemash show, can DB please rant about league transparency again? I miss smugly nodding to myself while listening to the podcast. I mean, you already kind of did a little bit when talking about the injury reserve list. Like, they should just have it.
You'll, due to time constraints, you'll have to put up with just team transparency conversations.
Yeah.
Hopefully that's adequate.
Okay, I'm just going to run through these for time's sake here. Monkey Prince, thank you for all the good times. Still remembering this being the first Overwatch podcast I listened to starting back during Contenders 2017. It's been a great 3 years. No matter what's been going on in Overwatch, the podcast and the Discord have been a great place to discuss and occasionally argue about it all. To 200 more episodes and beyond. Monkey Prince, thank you so much. You are another example of active person in the community that we just asked, hey, do you want to be part of the staff and talk with us about show ideas and come on around the payload? And you've been great and just been an encyclopedia of knowledge on various points in time in Overwatch, and we really do appreciate it. Thank you so much, Monkey Prince. We love having you around. All right, A. Smith here. Thank you for the incredibly entertaining show. You were my favorite show from the beginning, and I'm so happy to have been on this ride with you guys. I feel like part of a family and feel honored to call you guys friends. Much love, guys. Here's to another 200. A. Smith, thank you. We love you too, buddy. Thank you for everything you've done. You, A. Smith as well, another person who was just an avid fan, and then really, and I credit where credit's due, A. Smith, a lot, and I mean a lot of the High Noon Hot Seat and Around the Payload. A lot of that would not have happened without you because of you pushing us and also just getting guests and just asking guests, hey, do you want to be on the show? If you guys love our interviews and some of the amazing interviews that we've had, from Nate Nanzer to Kevin Chu from Gen G to any of the players, it is in large part, if not entirely, due to A. Smith going out of his way and setting those up and getting those interviews. So huge thank you to A. Smith. You are the OG and the GOAT.
Yeah, I'm gonna take this next one here because I think I can answer for both of us.
Well, I think we should end on that one probably.
Okay. Then yeah, why don't you take the second last one?
Yes, we're going here to John Frank Di Giovanni. How many times do you think Blevins will be disappointed by NYXL? I'll give you the answer here. 0, because they are going to win every game for the rest of the season. Easy. And they're going to win the championship. Not close.
At least 10.
That's probably closer to right. Somewhere between 0 and 10, I think, is probably correct. All right, let's kick off the last question here for episode 200 of High Noon Podcast with this one from Bob.
Yeah, Blazing Bob. I'll recap. Big friend of the show. You've Around the Payload guest. You've heard us talk about him. Asked, how has podcasting changed your life? It's a hard question to answer, and when you think about it, if you don't think about it too close, you're just kind of like memeing on the internet. And I'm so much of what we do is just what me and Blevins would do anyways, which is just shoot the shit with each other and joke around and have a conversation. But in all honesty, this one I really thought about it, and I had a really good answer, and it's something that I don't really talk about, even in my personal life. Anything I have later on in life was never a problem when I was younger, but I've started and had some troubles with anxiety later on. If you get me in a very public social setting with a lot of people I don't know, I completely clam up. I don't say anything. I don't talk. And I really shut down, and I don't know where that came from. And podcasting really helped me and forced me to break out of that, from getting used to the fact that there's going to be, X number of downloads and listens when I open my mouth and talk on these things. When we started, I had to, and it was helpful that it was true. I just had to go, nobody's listening to this. Nobody's going to hear it. It doesn't matter. Just talk, right? It's fun.
Yeah.
You want to do this. So just shut up and do it. And it's really been game changing for me to start to travel to events and meet people like yourself included, Bob. And it's meant a lot to me to be able to, it's always hard, right? When you struggle with anxiety and like that, like it's always super difficult. And I think it's a lot of what Warren was talking about in his question or in his comment about how he doesn't feel like he can jump into a conversation. And I might not have as severe problems as Warren has. I have no problems jumping in behind the armor of my anonymous keyboard and yelling at people on the internet.
Yeah.
That's fine. It's the interpersonal in-person, interactions that I have had problems and anxiety with, and getting to meet you and Mel and I play Rob and all those people and the casting talent, our conversations with Uber and X and Monty and Doa at the grand finals and things like that, where they feel like, because you watch them on screen and all these things, they feel like once in a lifetime opportunities. So you force yourself to break the ice in a way that I wouldn't normally have done so, and I may have just kind of retreated into a comfortable space otherwise. But things like Fraggy noticing us when we walked into the room and going out of his way to like wave, just things like that. The Overwatch community has embraced us in a way that has made me feel really comfortable. I told you I was going to get a little choked up, and this is why. But it's meant a lot to me, and the feedback and the love that you guys give means a lot. So really appreciate it. And thank you, all of you. I'm crying now.
It's kind of crazy because it all happens so quickly, right? Even though it's been 200 episodes. I'm like, oh yeah, we're doing the same exact thing we've been doing since the beginning. But then I think I actually went back and was randomly just watching some of our old episodes, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember what it was like back then. It's nothing like, it doesn't like, not even just our mindset, but even just like our mics. Like it's like, holy crap, it sounds so much different. And like, it was just such a different world for us. Like we went from just,
we didn't know how to put our Hearthstone podcast on iTunes.
Yeah. Our Hearthstone podcast doesn't exist on iTunes.
It was YouTube only because we were dumb.
Yeah.
That's how much we've grown.
Yeah. Like it's things that I take for granted now, literally, like having, the other podcasts that I have started now have the just massive benefit of me having done this for 4 years. And when people from time to time will be like, hey, can you give me some tips about starting a podcast? And I go, yeah. And I tell them this, that, or the other thing. And it's like, people will ask me a question. I'm like, well, how do you not know that? And I'm like, wait, I didn't know that when I started. we were doing, I don't even think our first few episodes of High Noon are on iTunes. They might be. I don't remember. Maybe they are.
Phelan did it.
Yeah. Thank you to Phelan.
The third host literally set up the...
I was thinking about proposing if I could get him on the spot to just have him on the 200th episode and like act like it was no.
I literally almost suggested it too, just to have him in the call and be like, hey, can you just randomly start talking about him?
Yeah.
So just as a bit,
yeah,
and just like we'll yell at you and reset the counter like we used to do in like the first 10 episodes or whatever.
And then I was thinking, there's maybe 2 people total that would get that reference and appreciate it. And they're both talking on the podcast right
now. and I carry him.
Right.
But Phelan's also a friend, so it's like, hey, can you just sit in silence for 45 minutes?
Yeah, can you be a joke, please?
2-second meme.
Yeah. But podcasting, it's just opened up so much. So I have a little bit of a different story than Deathblow does in terms of my experience with broadcasting, because I did radio and that in college. So I have had, and I just naturally am more like, I want to be in the mix of it. I like going to those mixers and stuff and just being in the mix of it, talking to people and having a buzz going around.
He's anti me.
I have this thing, and it's happened more than once. where I will just sit down at an event or something at a table, an empty table, and people just kind of come around and start like, usually it'll be like a friend comes over and then it's like, I just wanted to sit alone and there's like a whole group of people coming around, which I love. Like that's just a great thing. But yes, we've learned, and I personally have learned a ton about the logistics of podcasting and what works, what doesn't, the like getting things set up. There's still a lot of things that I'm terrible at, by the way. But the biggest thing for me is just understanding and appreciating and embracing the community more than anything. I mean, I think we sort of learned that. I think that was our biggest takeaway from the Hearthstone podcast, is that if we can take any win from that podcast, it was that we had a diehard community. It was the same thing with my Magic the Gathering podcast. It was like, did we get 1 million downloads? No, but we had a very like hyper-focused community that was dedicated to us. It was small, and that's
it was
how
14 people, but they all downloaded. They all listened,
and they all got
they all
shout outs on every
interacted.
episode.
they all got feedback
Shout
from
out to
us.
Alex Bianchi, by the way, the 2 people that will get that reference. But yeah, I mean, it's I mean, and Discord has been a huge help in that. I mean, Discord didn't exist when we did our Hearthstone podcast. I remember Phelan showing us Discord and me being like, well, can't we just use something? Can't we just use Skype?
I very specifically didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
I already use Skype. Okay, I don't need another one.
Right.
I'm not installing
Why
another
can't we use
voice program.
Ventrilo? that was probably a sentence that literally got typed. And now, I mean, I can't think of the world without Discord. The community, and like our own personal community, just like branching out and meeting other communities and other content creators, people who like you said, like these once in a lifetime meeting the casters. Like we've had hexagrams on what, a half a dozen times,
At least 4, I think.
a bunch of times. Anytime we go to those, it's not just, oh, hey, we can awkwardly walk up and like hope he remembers. It's like they're coming over and be like, oh, hey, how's it go? Hey, high noon guys, what's up? Like when we walked into the grand finals, Mark Von Lommel goes, I see 2 big bearded guys. I see 2 big bearded guys. And like, just like taking something that when we started the podcast, the thought of even talking to Blizzard or anyone at Blizzard or having anyone that's remotely related to the game Overwatch, even knowing that our podcast exists, not even listening to it, not even being a fan of it, not even joining our community, not even inviting us to stuff, not even getting us invited to events and special events, not even getting exclusive interviews at BlizzCon, not even getting invited to BlizzCon, not even being able to interview, and I know I'm just flexing on things that I can remember that we've done that are cool, but this is our 200th episode, so I'm going to do it. Not even being able to actually get an interview and in on the press conference with Jeff Kaplan, the media press conference with Jeff Kaplan at BlizzCon, and finally talking to Jeff and having him acknowledge the meme from the beginning of the show where he did confirm that he, in fact, played against you 1v1 on Kings Row.
I told you how many times
without
the fact
dropping
that
a
nobody
beat.
believed me.
It just like, it's so much. It's so not about the podcast that we do every week. It's so much about the community around it, and that's our community, the other podcasters' communities, the greater Blizzard community, the greater esports and gaming community. That is what has really changed my life in a way, and it's something that
one of you lunatics asked for our autograph.
True, and we gave it
on a coin.
Like the
and
reference.
I'm so sorry that I defaced your coin with that scribble that I tried to call a signature. But
and it was actually the original
recognized coin by our voices walking around this past grand finals.
Oh, right.
Somebody walking in front of us stops dead.
We got recognized for our voices twice. Because remember
Are
when
you high noon?
When we were
and like gives us free stuff.
Yes, when we were at Nerd Street, remember?
Yes.
We were sitting around talking with Thorne, and they're like, "You guys sound familiar. Are you High Noon?" Yep.
That was Thane, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
a Buffalo guy.
Yeah.
We've met up with somebody from our hometown in New York City and Philadelphia, but never.
Yeah. I actually did meet someone from our hometown here that listens, not to High Noon, but to other shows. But
I almost bought a video card from somebody that heard of our podcast that I contacted on Craigslist, and I almost got a discount for giving him giving me a deal. It was literally going to be like 50% off because
That's awesome.
it was the host of the High Noon podcast that was going to buy it.
That's awesome.
Weird.
So, long story short, it is something that we both you and I, Death, have experienced on such a micro level with Magic the Gathering in like our experiences, like going to tournaments and stuff. It's like in a lot of ways for me, that was what kind of built to this. But like this is just so much more. It's more than just like, okay, well, we have our little high noon planet here and we don't go anywhere else. It's like so expanded out, and the internet and gaming and esports and all that has really brought us all together and expanded that out. So to answer your question,
back to ignoring all those facts because of
Right.
the anxiety.
Well, to answer Blaze and Bob's question, how has the podcast changed your life? It hasn't. No, that's it. The community. It's so much that, and I know it sounds sappy and stupid, but I just think about where I was as a person and like what we thought of as like goals for the show back when we started the show. And, it's always the like grass is always greener, or you never really understand what you're doing until after the fact. But it's like, if you asked us 200 episodes ago, hey, do you think that you will have do you think that an Overwatch league, a global Overwatch league will exist? We maybe would have said yes, but we probably would have laughed when we said it. Do you think that you would have the commissioner of that league on your show? We would have laughed at the person who asked that question.
I'll never forget the feeling of him joining that call.
Yeah. If you asked us 200 episodes ago, do you think that Blizzard will invite you to BlizzCon as media? We would have laughed at that person. If you would have, like, all the things that we've described and that we've done over the past 4 years, I think we would have laughed or been like, I mean, that would be a really aspirational goal, but probably not, just based on what we've experienced before. It really is kind of mind-boggling, considering where we were before. So, been long-winded about it, but it's something that is, really special to us. I don't think I don't think I've ever had something like this in my life before. So, I really appreciate you guys and love you guys. And here's to another 10,000 episodes, not just 200. But yeah, Death, any last words before we end our big 2 double zip?
No, I can't. Everything I've said, I just want to say everything I've said in the nostalgic section all over. We can't say it enough. We can't thank you guys enough. And if only it was more entertaining to new viewers and listeners to hear this stuff all the time, we'd do it every episode.
Right.
But thank you. Thank you for the feedback on short notice, everything. Yeah, we love you guys.
Yep. Okay, guys, you guys know the links. High Noon Podcast everywhere. Discord.me/High Noon Podcast. We'll see you guys in another 200 where we'll be even more sad. Actually, we'll probably do one at 500. And we'll do one every 100, I don't know. And then 500 will be a gigantic one where we're both elected as co-presidents. But, guys, that's going to be it for this episode. For Deathblow, I am the Blevins, and for the 200th time, it's High Noon.
Got his boots and he put on his hat. He threw the coin away that same day. It's in his past and he's not looking back. He says, finding mine now, God's my way. He's not good, but he sure ain't bad. He'll make amends for the sins that he has. He says, I'll change the world one bullet at a time till I find mine.
I got nothing special at the end, guys. We love you guys, and we'll see you next week.